Guys, if you can't handle heat, stay out of the kitchen. I'm going to give you some practical investing advice and some sort of things that have took me a good while to learn. So I'm just here in the camper, passing some time. Well, I'm not passing some time. I'm getting ready for a road trip here now. I'm heading off tomorrow. And I just have my battery charging. So I have a couple of minutes here to have a chat with you. I had a comment on my YouTube channel. And I'll give you the normal disclaimer. Beware of scammers. I'll never reach out to you. Never send me crypto. If you want to work with me, if you want to do any of our entirely products or consulting, just do it through our website or contact me. Give me a ring. But don't just send me Bitcoin thinking I'm going to invest it for you. You're being scammed. So just be aware and be careful. And you can support the channel just by hitting the like button, subscribe, become part of the community. We're all here to learn. So when you're an investor, you go through, it's not always rosy. I think when you're a little bit naive and you start investing, you just think you put your money to work, your money works, and it's worth more money. Tomorrow it's worth more money, and the next day after that it's worth more money, and in a week's time it's worth even more money, and in a year's time it's worth even more money. Okay, and in a perfect world, that might be the case. But in reality, that's not the case. That's not how investing works. Okay, with investing, alright, the market just decides. No one understands how markets work. It's too complex a machine. There's too many variables. It's trillions of tiny human inputs dictate how markets work. Okay, it's one of the most complex things, and that's why nobody agrees on economics, and nobody can really accurately forecast them. Okay, so short term, no one really knows. All right, and my whole point of that is, and I'll just give you a little example. There's a lot of very wealthy people now who got wealthy by the decisions that they made in the last great financial crisis. Okay, they became multi-millionaires. Okay, and how they done that was they scooped up assets on the cheap. All right, and then they didn't buy houses at the very bottom. You didn't need to buy a house. Let's say, I remember seeing houses go for 30 grand. All right, you didn't need to buy the house for 30 grand to do very, very well. If you bought the house for 60 grand, you could have watched that asset draw down over 50% and you still got an amazing asset. All right, and this is the difference between thinking like an investor and just being a short-term thinker or someone who doesn't understand how to invest. You don't have to buy the very bottom, but you do have to be prepared to, sometimes when you invest your money, the asset that you have trades down in value. Now what that means is if you bought a house in the great financial crisis for 60 grand and it trended down to 30 grand, one of these Facebook keyboard warriors who doesn't understand investing will be going, you lost all your money. But you didn't. You still have the asset. And if you're an investor, you're buying the asset. Okay, you're not buying it for the euro, you're buying it for the asset. So you think in assets, you don't think in euro or whatever your political currency is. Okay, because that's where people get misled and make the mistake. All right, so you bought the asset for 60k. Today it's worth 600k. All right, you've 10x your investment. Plus you've got rental income. Fantastic. Even though in 2011, your asset probably went down another 50%. And the short-term thinkers were laughing at you. But now you're laughing at them because they all have to go to work and you're a multi-millionaire. This is how investing works. It's the important distinction that it's not get rich quick. Sometimes you'll put your money into an investment and the market will trend down for a period of time. Okay? Nikki is saying only if you sell at a loss. And you're dead right, Nikki. And that's my second point, which you lead me nicely into. To be a successful investor, you have to separate, okay, your living expenses from your savings, from your investment money. They all come from different buckets, okay? You don't invest your savings. You don't invest your living expenses because, guess what? You need them to live, lads. It's not rocket science, but some people don't get this, okay? So investment money, and I have investment money that's like, 10-year money. It's decade money. It's like this capital I don't need to touch for a decade. And really by that, I mean, I probably don't need to touch forever. Okay, so I'm happy I can put it into investment and I can sit in it for a decade. Okay, so there's no need for me to need to sell or want to sell. And that means in times of drawdowns, and that's what we're going through now, not just in crypto, we're all focused on crypto and Bitcoin here, but all financial assets have crashed. Nothing is safe. Okay, and that's because of the fiat standard type of money system that we use now. Okay, that a small group of unelected people control the money. Okay, and they can print money and then they can contract, take money out of the system. And when they take money out of the system, everything crashes. Like Facebook stock crashed more than Bitcoin. But are people deleting the Facebook app off their phone and saying Facebook's finished, it's done? No, because they're not idiots. Okay, but some people will say that about Bitcoin, and maybe they are. Okay, so it's important to make that distinction between your investment money and your spending money and your savings money. All right, so that when you're able to take investments, you can take them through market downturns. Now, the irony is that all the money is made in the downturns. Okay, the irony is that those people who are greedy when others are fearful are the next future multimillionaires, the next people who are retired, or as the Joe Blogs who look with green eyes at people and go, oh, they got lucky, yeah. You know, but really, people don't get lucky. No one gets lucky in this game. It's all about the decisions you make and the actions you take. And that's pretty much it. Okay? So I just wanted to try and make that distinction and help you understand. And the next thing is, in terms of short-term thinking, and these are just generic Dinny bombs. I'm just here in the camper now. I'm charging the batteries. I'm going away tomorrow for a little spin. So we're waiting for the batteries to charge. And it's on 7.9 volts, so the battery could be not in great shape, because I don't think they're meant to go that low, the leisure batteries, but sure, we'll get a new one if we need it. One of the distinctions, okay, is what helps you be a really good investor is if you're an entrepreneur, all right? And even if you're not an entrepreneur, you can still learn all the traits an entrepreneur knows and understands, because they'll help you be a better investor, and it'll help you be a better employee. And BJs, you wouldn't know, maybe you start a little side hustle, all right? Okay, so when you're an entrepreneur, okay, or a business owner, you understand something that's called deferred gratification. Okay, when you're an employee, you want instant compensation. So that means if you do an hour's work, you want to be compensated for that hour. I want to be paid for that hour. I've done 2 hours, I want 2 hours wages. Okay, when you're an entrepreneur, the game doesn't work like that. You can work an hour and you don't get any money. In fact, you can work a whole year and you don't get any money, all right, while you're building something. So you understand investing the time, investing the money, and not getting the immediate payoff, okay? The flip side of that is, though, when an entrepreneur, not when, okay, being an entrepreneur is one of the riskiest things you can do. You've better odds of being an investor than you have being an entrepreneur. The failure rate for entrepreneurs, you know, most businesses fail within 5 years. And when I say most, I mean it's a 90% failure rate. And in your second 5 years, if you do manage to somehow beat the 9 out of 10 failure rate, the odds don't change. It's a 9 out of 10 chance you're not going to last another 5 years. So being an entrepreneur is not easy. And that's kind of good, though, because things that aren't easy build resilience, build character, build discipline, build all the characteristics we need to make ourselves better. Okay, so I enjoy being an entrepreneur. I enjoy the challenge of it. But being an entrepreneur teaches you about deferred gratification, and the work and being an entrepreneur teaches you about investing, and that you don't get directly compensated for the hours that you put in initially. But just like investments, when you make an investment, okay, and you're prepared to hold your investment for time, and if it's a good investment, well, in 10 years' time, it's not fair, okay? It's not fair that you don't have to do any work and you're earning more money off that thing than people who are just working, all right? Just like it's not fair in the beginning, it's not fair when you're doing all the work as an entrepreneur and you're not getting paid for it. You know, if you think fair is relative in the world, because what we think is fair as individuals is just our little monkey mind. That's not reality, like, okay? But it's not fair in the beginning when you're an entrepreneur, you work your ass off, you don't get any money, just like it's not fair when you're a successful entrepreneur and you've built a business and you've got a load of income that you don't really have to do any work and you're getting paid more money than 10 people who are working their asses off. You know, so it's never fair. Life's not fair, and we just make of it what we can, and you play the game once you understand the rules. Being initially compensated, okay, for me, I prefer the deferred gratification model. I'll give you a little example of that, because I recently launched a nutrition company, and because I'd spent years building a network, okay, your network is your net worth, all right, and because I'd spent years of, you know, giving people good advice, giving people free education, just giving people value, that I launch a company, zero ad spend, and straight away we're a 6-figure company. And it's something that I'm doing on my free time, and it's not really costing me any effort. I can fit it in. It probably costs me 3 hours a week on a busy week, and I probably have to work it maybe 1 week a month. All right, and this is the beauty of it. I couldn't have launched that if I hadn't done all the work a decade ago to build my network, to put out value, to constantly choose not to be instantly compensated. Okay, and this is investing. It works in building business and it works in building financial wealth. Get your mind out of the I need to be compensated for everything I do. I need to be paid. I done this for you. You have to give me X, Y, and Z. Because there's a much bigger game going on, guys. Okay? And you can when you transition your thinking into pay me now to let me try and build something here. How can we scale this? Rather than me getting a tenner now, I'd rather get £1,000 in 10 years. Or 10,000 in 10 years. Much rather that. And that's what investing is. Investing is thinking like that. It's thinking ahead. It's thinking that I don't need the money now. I can park the money here. And I'm going to speculate that in time it's going to be worth more. So financial markets go down. Financial markets go up. But guess what? Okay? What dictates our money system? And there's a lot of information in this little blurb I'm doing here. But what dictates the value of everything is our money standard. And most people don't understand money. I didn't. Full disclosure, I didn't understand money first half of my life. And I worked really hard and I didn't have much money. And then I spent years studying money. Unfortunately, I don't have to work anywhere near as hard and have much more money. So I think it's really important. If you're going to play the game of money, which we all are forced to play, you should try and understand the rules really, really well. Okay? So the money system that we have at the moment is funded. So all our government funding comes from, it has to come from somewhere. Where does it come from? It comes from you. And it comes from me. Alright? But, and it comes from companies and everything. Okay? So governments have a spending budget, and at the moment they're spending more than they're bringing in. So they can't tax you anymore. Well, they can try and tax us more, okay? But eventually, it's just like the government bill is larger than if you tax us at 100%, and the government still is spending more than they have, okay? So governments have no choice at the moment but to debase their currencies. And what that means is they need to print money. They need to borrow and loan to themselves, okay? They need to write debt, write checks to themselves. Crazy, I know. Now what that does is it makes your money and my money and everyone's money buy less things. And you might be noticing that recently. Guys, if you like this video, make sure you stick a little like button down, possibly share it. A lot of people aren't clued into this. And they're going to go through a pretty tough financial time over the next 10 years and possibly beyond that. But the government's going to write checks to itself and debase their currency, expand their currency, okay? Because the way our money system works is based on debt, okay? It's a debt-based system. It's a debt-based Ponzi scheme when you actually understand it from first principles, okay? So it's a debt-based Ponzi scheme, but we won't say that because some people say, what are you talking about? How could it be a Ponzi scheme? But it is, all right? But it's a debt-based system, okay? And as they write checks to themselves, that dilutes the value of all my euros, all your euros, or your pounds, or your dollars. It doesn't matter what currency it is. All currencies are being debased. Okay? So you need to own hard things. You need to own hard assets. Okay? You need to own some gold. Well, you don't need to. I won't tell you what you should own. But like gold is a hard asset. Bitcoin is a hard asset. Physical property is a hard asset. Well, physical property is probably my least favourite. Because it's getting crucified in tax. It can be taken off you. You can't take it with you. And it wears out. You've got to put energy into maintaining it. And if you're into physical property, happy days. Loads of people have played that game, but I think that was the game of the 20th century. Now that we're in the 21st century, there's a different game in town. It's called digital property. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. But so the debt can't be repaid, and guess what? It's not going to get better because government aren't going to get more payroll from more people getting jobs. Why? Well, if you're half clued in now to what's happening with AI, you're seeing that this is disrupting. Over this decade, it's going to disrupt millions of jobs, millions of industries. Gone. Okay? So there's all these people who were paying tax, who were working to fund the government, who are already overspending, are now out of work. So you can see, there's no solution here, only to debase the currencies. Alright? Now, it's not going to happen today or tomorrow. It just happens steadily over time. So markets at the moment, we're doing quantitative ease tightening, which means we're pulling money out of the system, we're crashing financial assets, but we do it up until a point when something breaks, and then we revert back to the mean, which is being the way. And this is why Bitcoin was invented in 2008, because governments chose to bail themselves out at the expense of the taxpayer. And lo and behold, you have a solution now. A digital, hard, scarce, finite asset that no one's forcing you to own, but you can opt into it voluntarily. Guys, hope you have a good day. 7.9 volts, the battery has charged, 0.1 of a volt. I'm going to load up the camper here, get my gear in, and I'm heading down towards Wexford tomorrow. for a bit of crack. So if you know of anything to do down there or anywhere I should be going and checking out, drop it in the comments and let me know. But heading for the sunny southeast in February, expecting beautiful weather down there. Guys, have a super day. Dinny out.